Thank you.
Hey,
Let's do
it
it.
works for me. Mic check.
Mic check 2 1 2. How we doing, Marty?
Check, check, check.
Oh, I'm in Istanbul. I'm exhausted.
Always traveling. It's that easy, Pim.
Dude, it's not that easy, Loris. Don't tell Loris, okay?
Good old Loris.
Oh, God.
Well, it's that time again. So, thank you everyone for joining. This is our bi-weekly options chat, ball chat with the most hated, making it look easy, Vol King Marty, and our special guest Zoran today. DK up, Tolga as usual. Welcome.
Thank you.
What's going on, guys? I don't know. We'll give a little docket intro, and then we can get right into it. We'll do a little talk about Zoran. We'll do a little macro, debt ceiling, Fed hiking, pausing, macro, LARPing, as usual. Some stock versus crypto correlation talk. Futures of crypto, DeFi, and blockchain tech, and the lowest volatility crypto market the world has ever seen. What's going on, Zoran? Nice to have you on. Nice to see you at the Premia chat.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Just chilling, man. Doing pretty well. No complaints with this beautiful Miami weather. It's a nice Wednesday afternoon, and here to talk macro and LARP.
Hey, perfect. That's what we're here for. You want to give a little intro about yourself? I'm sure everybody knows you in this space, but if they don't, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So the short, sweet intro is I'm a derivatives trader by trade. I reckon myself as a discretionary swing trader. Got into the space 2013, buying the Mt. Gox top, holding all the way down, and then deciding I need to learn how to click buttons for a living because I didn't want to work a regular job. And I've been clicking buttons for just about 7, 8 years now. So here I am today on crypto Twitter as an influencer.
Hey, you got to move to Miami to be an influencer. That's right here.
Exactly. So I made the final step. Now I'm a true influencer.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Yeah, it's good to have you on. I was on you and ISO's chat, and that was more. I probably hopped on and just talked, spit full Vol game talk. I don't know if I threw you guys off or what, but it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was definitely very gigabrain. I feel like I should have asked more rudimentary questions, like how to like buy a put, sell a call, just simple strategies. And you went way over my head. But it was great information, and especially the stuff on correlation, I found a lot of value from, and I'm sure our listeners did as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that was a good one. Always happy to jump on. Oh, I don't know. Let's get right into it. What's going on? We got the debt ceiling talks today. My time zone's all screwed up. It's like 9 o'clock here, but sometime in the afternoon we have a vote in the States. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, my simple idea here is that the government has to be paid, so they're going to raise it, right? What they agree to is nitpicking. Supposedly they're off by tens of billions, right? And when you're talking about trillions, tens of billions isn't that big of a difference. But of course, if you give me $10 billion a day, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I LARP as a macro understander. I really don't know shit, but from my rudimentary understanding from high school econ class, the debt ceiling is very lindy, so we keep raising it. So I don't see a reason to stop raising it until the whole thing implodes, and I don't think that's today. I don't think that's tomorrow. So yeah, I think my LARPing gut would say we are most likely going to raise the debt ceiling, and like you said, those billions are really just rounding errors in the grand scheme of things. So it's just about, I guess, the political side of things, getting the deal done, but a deal will get done, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think the last big one that we had was like 2011, like Obama era, right? I was a child at that point. I was a young Marty at that point. So I had to do a little reading up on that the last week and a half, because this is the talk of the town, right? Every news channel, every podcast, every Spaces is talking about the debt ceiling. But essentially, if they just push it back, nobody gets paid, all government, assistance gets put on hold, and when you're the world reserve currency, you have the flexibility to do whatever you want, essentially. I think that they're going to go ahead and raise it. I know maybe Tolga, you're itching to get in here and tell me how I'm wrong, but Feel free to join if you want.
No, I mean, I'll jump in. It's going to get past today. I don't think the market's really. I mean, maybe some of the USTs had a slight impact this last like 2 weeks, but the market already knew that this is going to happen. It's like everyone just conceded and said, kick the can 2 years down the road. Like they said, oh, Republicans didn't say that they took the funding from the IRS, which was like, I don't know, like something tens of billions or something over the next 2 years. And there are certain things like defense spending and Social Security and Medicaid that were kind of off limits. So it's like just kicking the can down the road to the next presidency. It's going to be nothing burger. I think that this Hong Kong information, the Hong Kong markets tomorrow will bring more volatility into space than this the debt ceiling issue. But
Yeah, we can get into that too a little bit later. Yeah, I think the whole thing with the debt ceiling is like, oh, how are you not going to pass a debt ceiling? How are you not going to come into a conclusion a year before the election? Essentially, like you're up on the chopping block and you have to do everything to please the normal people, and the normal people don't want a normal news cycle. Well, maybe they want the entertainment for the debt ceiling talk, right? But they don't want to be personally affected by it. If their stock portfolio's wrecked, if the government employees aren't getting paid, yeah, it's not looking good. And Tolga, what do you think about that?
I honestly, I don't know. I mean, I could sit here and act like I do know, but I don't think anyone does, and neither do they. In terms of like the debt ceiling, using DK's words here, the nothing burgers, like it's been a common issue year in, year out, and it's always been kicked down the road. So I just see it as a nothing. I don't even see it really as a newsworthy thing. I think people are just trying to grasp at headlines at this point because there's just nothing going on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with the Hong Kong markets in the morning, especially tomorrow, is the supposedly Hong Kong is opening up their cryptocurrency views. They're being open-minded, and essentially they're going to allow retail users to trade cryptocurrencies. We're not really sure on who has a license yet or who's going to get a license, or if this includes derivatives or only spot like in Korea. It's going to be a very interesting next week. This whole week will be interesting. Zoran, have you read up on the China, Hong Kong?
Yeah, I'm like very briefly informed on it, and I actually talked about it yesterday. And the way I kind of liken it to is, right, we had Fidelity start trading digital assets earlier at the end of last year, right? They opened up a few, I think it's just BTC and ETH, not a lot of, but it's all spot. I kind of have the same thoughts this time around with Hong Kong. It is a net positive for the space. Is it just the new narrative people are grasping on to kind of rotate into China coins, Hong Kong coins, whatever you want to call it? Sure, that's probably the most likely outcome. But in terms of like actually seeing an appreciation flow, retail coming into the market, I think we're gonna, it's gonna be a delayed effect that'll happen over the course of many months. I don't think, there are Fidelity gaps that trade from like midnight to 4 a.m. I think it is in the U.S. And I don't think those spot flows have really created an impact on the general market in the last 5-6 months. So I'm not really expecting this Hong Kong to be anything more than exit liquidity for certain coins, and then hopefully 6, 8, 9 months down the line, we can actually see some spot flows coming from Asia that are gonna hopefully launch a new trend next year. That's kind of the way I'm approaching it, or at least my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it kind of adds into my simple thesis that next year, no, vol is muted, right? It's been muted since FTX crashed. You're gonna need time or another black swan, and hopefully it's not a black swan, to bring vol back, right? Vol isn't coming back tomorrow. It kind of plays into my thesis that next year you have the Bitcoin halving somewhere in the first quarter, roughly. And then if this Hong Kong thesis plays out, this China thesis, spot flow thesis plays out, it's not happening tomorrow on June 1st. They'll, licenses and regulatory loops to jump through. And then you have the presidential election. These are all natural, organic, vol-bringing events. volatility bringing events. That kind of is my simple thesis for next year. That hopefully it's up only, everybody can rejoice. Crypto Twitter's the happiest place on earth because right now everyone's a hater, and it sucks. It sucks. The crypto sucks. Crypto Twitter sucks.
Quality has degraded steadily since the FTX crash. Everyone's very salty. Everyone's illiquid, liquidated, scorned, whatever adjective you want to use there. And I agree, it's going to take a while. And I do agree that those events you mentioned, the election, especially for me, the halving. I've always been a big believer in Bitcoin cycle theory. I think that's the predominant fundamental approach I take to this market. Is that Bitcoin operates on a 4-year cycle driven by the halving. Reduction in supply. Let's pretend demand stays the same. Price will likely go up. And that usually happens, let's just say 3 to 4 months before the actual event. So, going into, I think it's in April of next year, the halving is scheduled, something like that. Like you said, end of Q1, beginning of Q2. So that's kind of the driver for me that we see this, like you said, up only. Crypto Twitter's happy. It's no longer a cesspool. I mean, it'll still be a cesspool, but it'll be a little happier cesspool. So yeah, just kind of biding our time, waiting for the cycle to play out, right? We've bottomed. We're exiting accumulation, call it, if we want to pretend this 1625K was accumulation, this is a breakout. Do we retest it? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that, come end of Q4, beginning of Q1 of next year, that's when I want to dial into the markets and be an active participant, not in this PvP bullshit.
Yeah, and that's where everybody's losing all their money, right? Everybody's like, oh, just like every time, right? They're playing this chop fest, and it never works. Either you're buying spot and selling options, or you're buying spot and you're probably going to outperform 99% of these people that are just, 100x long meme coin, Pepe coiners. We won't get too much into Pepe coin. We covered that a couple times, and we had some audience members get a little heated.
Well, even they're getting wrecked right now. Like, in the other sectors, like all the NFTs are down. Besides Pepe having its rally and like a few other meme coins, like everything else is bugging everyone. So like, there's really nothing for people to do at the moment. Even some legitimate ones, I'm not going to point out protocols, but like networks, and they're getting exploited. So it's like just not a very positive trading environment across the on-chain world either.
Well, Marty, there was one headline that crossed my desk, and I was actually kind of surprised we didn't talk about it last week. It had to do with Jane Street and Jump Trading, both pooling their U.S. operations due to U.S. regulatory uncertainty.
Yeah.
And that kind of like spills into, I think, a lot of other topics, from like a lower vol scenario, the post FTX drama of like what's happening in the microstructure of the market after that. I thought that was an interesting piece of news that maybe hasn't been getting as much headlines. But those are some really big players. They've just been very quiet. But in terms of the amount of money they push in the system, in the ecosystem, it's extremely large. I mean, I would put them up there with FTX. They just they're just not headline grabbers. They kind of like to do things a little bit more silently, especially Jump, I know in particular, has their hands literally in everything.
Yeah, I got some insight into that.
Do you really see that making like an impact though, when so all other European or overseas, you could say, operations are still going? It more felt like to me it was just like a headline and kind of like to make a statement, kind of like Coinbase doing their European tour.
I got a little insight to that actually, like some alfalfas. They pulled their operations, but from what I hear is that getting a banking relationship offshore is between 8 and 12 weeks, and this is for any sort of fund operation that is moving money or wants to, do a BVI or a Cayman or a Dubai or whatever kind of regulatory setup. So if Jump and Jane Street pulled operations, okay. If they were banking at Silicon Valley Bank or whatever, one of the other 10 that went under,
I see you're speaking, okay, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
And okay, and that okay. Let's say they pulled all their money, they moved all their bank.
Marty, what are your thoughts on that?
Cozy, can you hear me?
Do you think it's anything more than just
Cozy needs to
headlines
go mute.
and kind of like showing their cards a bit?
Is it me or is it Cozy?
It's
I think it's
Cozy.
cozy.
Cozy, you're fired. I'll ping him. One sec, Cozy. It's your mic. If they pulled their money, 8 to 12 weeks to get set up offshore to get a new banking, either with I won't name the names, offshore banking. So they're a non-player, right? They can't move any money. Maybe they can do on-chain. You can check, their wallets on Arkham. So maybe they're pushing DeFi, but full market making, all of the exchanges, all of the coins on every single exchange. If they weren't set up to do that, then they're not going to do that right now. They can't, right? They can't physically move the money until they get a banking relationship, which is about 8 to 12 weeks. And we're what, three weeks into that, a month into that. They pulled operations last month. And I think that the U.S. regulatory field is pretty shot already. We've talked about that before. So I think it's all just coming into play for 2024. This bigger thesis that it all works into 2024.
Hmm. It's also the same time that the headline for Apollo was bidding on the Voyager assets.
Yeah, because
Apollo's
Binance
a massive.
US failed, right? Or regulatory said they couldn't do it or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I say it every time, right? I sound like a broken record, right? Like the US is not for crypto. Gary G, Mr. G himself, is not pro crypto. The full regulatory space is so gray area that people are moving to other places, right? And you saw this, what is it, this week or last week? You saw, oh, Beijing is now, China is coming into play in the crypto space. And then yesterday or 2 days ago, I read a headline that a crypto team got arrested in their Beijing office. I'm like, well, this is not pro crypto, right? If the police are investigating, if it is for fraud or something, sure, but it was for a stablecoin company. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
Also, multi-chain. The rumors around there is that their Beijing office got raided and they can't get a hold of their CEO for like the last 2 days, so they can't upgrade their bridge infrastructure.
Yeah, so we had a question about that, right? Like, oh, what do you think about Hong Kong and what do you think about China? I think that until China fully comes out and says, oh, we're fully open and people aren't getting arrested and people aren't going missing, and even my friends that are in China, they're all moving to Hong Kong or Singapore or asking what, citizenship is best and residency is best because they're scared, especially on the mainland, for things like this.
I will piggyback on our Gary G statement. I feel like they pulled back, and I feel like they're just conceding now to some of the stuff that they were taking a big stance on. I still hold to my stance that I think it will become a partisan issue going into the election, and so I think they've been asked to kind of stand down.
Yeah, it's
So
not a good look, right? Like, I don't know. I say all the time, oh, you're arresting people for you don't have any rules or regulations for this, and you're just making the rules up along the way. It's not a good way to enforce. It's not a good way to spend taxpayer money. If the U.S. wants to get back into being the innovative state and country that it always has been with Silicon Valley and New York and the financial sector, then they need to take a better stance and be more pro crypto. And that doesn't mean like there's no rules or there's no taxes, right? There just has to be a clear cut, like a Securities Act, just an updated Securities Act. This is this way. If you do this, it's okay. If you do that, then it's illegal. And then people follow the rules, and it's a happy playground, and people will come back, and money will flow back in. But yeah, right now it's not looking good. Zoran, you have any idea on the the U.S. I don't know. You're in the U.S. Is Bitcoin Miami popping? Is Miami the new crypto hub I was promised, or what's going on there?
No, I really think the U.S. is kind of dead in terms of just interest in general, enthusiasm for the space. Bitcoin Miami, I didn't participate, but I was told it was a little lackluster compared to previous years, which is to be expected, given where we are, in my opinion, in the cycle. But yeah, the way I don't really understand regulation too much, but from the little bit that I LARP about, I really think that the U.S. is taking this bold stance, trying to be regulated, this and that, and it's really just driving innovation offshore. So, I do expect over the coming years, Asia, Middle East, potentially even Europe to become even larger players than they are already, and kind of dwarf the U.S. if that partisan issue isn't kind of solved in the next 4 or 5 years, I'd assume.
Yeah, I'm still a Brazil maxi on this whole take, right? Brazil has passed all their, or is in the making of writing all their laws and regulations. Then the exchanges have 180 days to follow all the laws, and as long as it's not a scam, then it's okay. Is essentially like the one liner too long didn't read of the 1,000 pager, and they're gonna be probably the first country on a major scale to test out the central banking coin, and they're going to do this with some futures contract and trade contracts before they release it out to the public, right? So they're not going to pull like a full social credit system on the public on day one, right? It's going to be for trade and manufacturing and other futures deliverables. Cozy, do we got you back? We couldn't hear you. Or we could hear you, but you couldn't hear me.
Yeah, I'm back. We're live.
All right, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I was like, is it me or is it you? All right, what do we got? Stocks and crypto correlation. I mean, the U.S. is dead, and nobody wants to play in the crypto pool because AI is the future, and Nvidia is flying, and everything's percents from all-time highs, and yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing. I haven't traded stocks in a long time. I pull up my portfolio. Oh, my Nvidia calls are through the roof. Stock shares that I've held for years are finally coming back. Yeah, it's just a totally weird space that's going on right now. Are you trading any stocks right now, Zoran?
No, I am such a crypto maxi man.
Yeah?
I tried trading FX in 2015, and I just like couldn't get the hang of it. But I did learn, my trending system Ichimoku from FX. I've never just traded equities, mostly because I prefer Ponzi's, where the TA is so simple. I draw my little triangle in 2017, and what do you know? It pops out and breaks out, does a full move. Crypto largely up until probably the last 2 years, I want to say, has been so technically driven up until the quote unquote institutions came in
Yeah.
that I just felt like I had a massive edge compared to equities. And then on top of that, the free access or the ease of access to leverage and margin just makes it so attractive for a crypto native who doesn't want to look at a due diligence or do some fundamental analysis on XYZ company. Yeah, I've just never dabbled because this is just way too fucking easy. It's gotten much harder obviously over the years as the cycles have gone on, but my edge is in this space. It's revolves around liquidity and liquidations, so that's kind of what I know and stick to. To trade, I'm not going to go and trade Nvidia. I don't have access to 100x leverage, and I'm going to go do some fundamental analysis on their chip manufacturing, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so I stay in my lane. I can't even pretend to LARP as an equities trader. I am strictly 100% crypto.
Zoran, question for you.
Yep.
In terms of like your product choice, obviously there's a lot of Delta One products out there, from futures to perps, different leverages, different markets. Like, where's your comfort zone in terms of the places in DeFi that you like, in terms of trading, good liquidity? You feel you're not being front run. Do you kind of have like a little sweet spot that you like to play around in?
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that. I was born and bred in the BitMEX era of Arthur Hayes' exchange. I used to trade their CHY XBT contract back in 2015, and I kind of learned the hard way. I was doing this in college, actually, what the leverage slider meant. The BitMEX UI back in the day, in my opinion, even to this day as well, is probably the sexiest, sleekest, easiest to use as a retail trader using a front-facing UI. I'm manual point and click trader, so I don't really venture out into the whole API terminals as well. So my sweet spot is really on a good centralized exchange with deep liquidity, where I can kind of market in and out of BTC and ETH positions without any issues. I haven't really ventured into DeFi, and that's mostly because I'm a BTC maximalist, so I don't really hold any ETH at any point in time. So I haven't ventured into the DeFi space. I played around a little bit with DYDX, GMX, and such, but at the end of the day, the liquidity is the most important piece of it for me. I point and click, so as long as it's a centralized exchange with deep liquidity, I'm usually fine with it. The whole idea of if I'm getting front run and stuff, it's just part of the game. I take that into account when sizing and creating validation. But end of the day, just a good centralized exchange is my sweet spot.
I got a follow up on that.
Yep.
When you're trading on a centralized exchange, no API, and you're marketing in and out, do you ever? I mean, of course you get filled, right, if you market in, but do you ever? I mean, the argument is limit versus market orders, right? I'm a limit order maxi if I'm on a centralized exchange UI. I just like to limit in. I'll scale in. I don't know, 100 Bitcoin, 200 Bitcoin, and that's like my buy, right? And I'm not trying to catch a $5 move or. There was a couple hundred Bitcoin scalps. I don't know if people remember that was fun times on FTX, but usually I'll swing a couple $1,000, a $5,000 move. Well, not anymore, right? But I'd rather do these longer sweeps than try to scalp. Are you ever like, oh crap, I missed that trade, or I got front run, or the slippage was so bad, or are you trying to catch the momentum with these market orders, or are you trying to
Yeah.
catch
So,
the
so
knife with the
ori-
market order?
So usually it's probably building into a position. I'm marketing into like what I think is a inflection point, whether it's a low or a high. Usually a low. I'm much better at picking bottoms and tops. And then my duration period is usually like 10 to 14 days, maybe even a month. So I'm looking to catch bigger moves. Why don't I limit in instead of market in? It's still it's a great question. Sometimes I ask myself the same thing, and obviously in terms of fees, I've paid the price because of it, but end of the day, if I feel a price is at an inflection point, I just want to kind of get in and then set and forget, because I know that if I stick around too long watching the price action after I've made the decision to enter a trade, I'll usually close too early, fumble it, whatever the case is. I'll size in too large if I start just sitting at the tape. So for me, it's just like mark it in, shut the laptop, set the alerts, walk away.
Yeah. Set the stop loss, set the TP, and dip. Yeah. And if you start scaling in orders, like I don't know, you'll see, oh, there's 1,000 Bitcoin order, and like that sometimes won't get filled, right? The other market participants know that it's this one guy, or like I always knew Pentoshi's orders. He'd always do like 50 Bitcoin clips, and you could just like see it sometimes, and you're like, Jesus, really? It's just like just sitting there on the books, just 50, 50, 50, 50. You're like, oh, all right. So what are you trading now? Are you trading more meme coins? I had a question specific. It was not from me, but it was, do you think shitcoining and options plus leverage trading can be done at the same time? Or does one mindset contradict the other? Like the shitcoin can 10x 12 Bitcoin looks like shit. I don't know. I'll handle
Yeah.
the first part, and I'll run in. Oh, yeah, I'll feed that one into you.
Okay.
Um, I'm not much of a shit coiner, like, but I think, of course, things can do like 100x in 2 days or whatever we saw with Pepe Coin. Just depends on like your trading style. When it not leverage trading with options, but you use leverage perps to keep your deltas at zero, which basically means you try to have less directional risk, and you can do this manually. You can do this with I hopefully don't do it manually now, but Greeks Life has a one button delta hedge. They have an auto hedge feature for you that does it every a minute or 10 seconds that you want, or you can build your own delta hedger. I just think it's a totally different game, shit coining and options, right? And I know Zoran doesn't do a lot of options, but I know he does like to dabble in all the shitcoins. Maybe you can give us some insight into shitcoining and leverage and how you play that. Are you doing like 10x, 15x? Are you doing the 1000x roll bits that I see? Or are you just doing like spot shitcoins?
Yeah, for me, leverage trading is just like you're a frog playing Frogger, and it's not about when you're going to get hit on the track. It's just a matter of not if you're going to get hit on the track, but when. So, leverage trading, you have to be pretty fine-tuned with your execution. I prefer to leverage trade Bitcoin and Ethereum just because the leverage provides me the ability to keep a minimum amount of capital on the exchange while still taking the position size I so choose. But when it comes to shitcoining, you talk about leverage trading and shitcoining. It can go hand in hand, but I think we're all in agreement that shitcoins are really just high beta to BTC and ETH. So if your directional thesis on Bitcoin and ETH is off, you're just going to get totally destroyed trading the betas on that as well. So for me, I never like to take more than 3, maybe 4 positions max. So usually if I have a directional take on Bitcoin, I think it's going up, okay. I'll look at certain shitcoins, look at their, alt BTC pairs, what looks like it's at support. If Bitcoin bounces here, is this other asset going to go up, X times more in terms of beta on Bitcoin? And that's kind of my approach to shitcoining. I don't think that you can have a directional take on Bitcoin and have an opposite directional take on alts. It's very, very rare and far between that certain shitcoins will just outperform when the market is going one direction. Obviously, we do see that from time to time, but I don't think I'm any expert at catching those, anomaly rotations at all. So for me, it's like pick a side, Bitcoin, ETH, and then maybe 1 or 2 alts that seem like they're going to directionally outperform Bitcoin and ETH. I don't think it makes sense to have an opposing viewpoint for those two. And in terms of the leverage, a lot of these alts, especially now, the market's very illiquid. Volatility is dried up, as we know. I don't think leverage is necessarily a necessity when it comes to trading shitcoins, but I do prefer to trade them on derivatives exchanges just because, from an OPSEC perspective and just being smart and normal in a post FTX era, keeping minimum funds on exchanges. So if the shitcoin is on my derivative exchange, I'll trade it, but I'm not a big proponent of buying spot shitcoins in this illiquid market.
Yeah, like you saw a lot of people was like before Pepe got listed, right? It was like I don't know, they were doing like e-swap stuff, wrapped for Pepe, and like they put in like just like any shitcoin. I know Cozy's a bigger shitcoiner than me. He can give some more insight, but like you take 5-10% slippage on a small order, and you're like at the very beginning of the cycle. Okay, but that doesn't matter that you took 10% slippage because you're about to hit 100x in a week. But then if you're buying at the top and you're taking 10% slippage, of course it's a different story. Cozy, you have any insight onto timing shitcoin rotations and about this slippage? That's why I never dabble. I'm never a rotatador, and I'm not a shitcoiner. I just don't know how to be. I can't.
There's no timing shitcoin rotations. You're just early or you're not.
I like that.
You're just there or you're not. Yeah, yeah. I had a buddy tell me about Pepe, and I was like, okay, cool, have fun, dude. Of course, just like every other day, I get a text, sure, have fun. And this one, like, 400 to a couple hundred grand or something stupid. I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's never me. But if I take these plays, Cozy, you're telling me before you would buy every listing, or you would buy $5 or $100, whatever it was, of every shitcoin, and some of them hit 100x and some of them went to zero.
Yeah, I mean that was um, back when like the only like quote unquote DEX you could interact with was Ether Delta. We had a bot that would just spit out like every new token that they would list, and you just throw like $20, $50 at it. And yeah, some of them 100x. Some of those are like Dragon or Tomo or things like that, and then others are complete scam. Nothing.
Disney Dragon
Yeah,
Coin.
not so fast
That was
Dragon
a
Coin.
dude. I love that one, dude.
So yeah, I mean, like
All
with those, it's
right.
just like you get lucky and you get early, and there's, I mean, the strategy was just spray and pray. But with other ones, like just like any other token, if there is narrative or there is some use case behind what launches as first a shitcoin, then there are winners that kind of fall outside of the just barely and dump it. You have things like GMX that were trading at under $10 for a really long time, and then they rallied. So, yeah, there's always some gems.
I think when it comes to shitcoining, it really is like you're either early to the narrative or you're late, right? So it's like the spray and pray method, especially previous cycles, was your best bet just because everyone had a coin. It really just depended which influenza was pumping it, how the marketing team was, where they have the pumpamentals to kind of exceed the Ether Delta initial listing and finally get to a centralized exchange, right? Like back in the day, if you got listed on Bittrex or Huobi or any of those, like you saw multiples that same day. And it was really, did you buy it on Ether Delta early? Were you able to deposit to your centralized exchange and sell it for, massive multiples?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was like you buy every KuCoin listing. I remember that. And it would always double every time. It was like the easiest money. That was always fun.
Trade ogre.
But yeah, another question that I had, or that we got, is the Volmageddon, I like that, the Volmageddon over? Will the next few weeks see increased vol? I'm assuming that this person read my newsletter or read some other newsletter. It was a question specific in the Premia questions sheet. The biggest options trade that was taken recently was 60,000 contracts through Paradigm and 12,000 contracts through Greeks Live, which is like insane for ETH contracts. It was a calendar spread where they basically bought June and sold September, which, I mean, just like the one liner, I know you're not a big options guy, but Tolga, maybe you can jump in here too. This guy's basically betting that it goes up, but vol increases by June, right? Because we're at super low, all-time low volatility. We're in like, realized vol's like 35 or something. It's insane. And IV's 45 all the way into March of next year. So this guy's basically betting that vol goes up into June and then it's kind of muted into September, and he gets a credit because he's buying and selling, or he offsets. What do you think about this one, Tolga? This was a
Do you have a
huge
little more
trade that
information?
crossed.
Yeah, what were the strikes on this?
It was a 2,200 ETH calls, buy June, sell September, 72,000 contracts total, all blocked through Greeks Live and Paradigm. 60,000 and 12,000.
Oh man,
That's a
weird,
I mean, this is the biggest ETH player, right? So this is a weird trade for me, right? At super low vol.
My first thought was like, that's a little bit of a weird trade to me. Maybe there's another piece to this we don't see, because I don't know why you would do that. If you're in a low vol environment, and you have some sort of bias in terms of volatility, I think generally, I mean, selling farther dated options are going to have a higher vega. And so I don't see how, if there is a vol scenario in which that plays out so great. It's a weird trade. I don't have.
No, my first thoughts was that he
he
sold June and bought September. Oh, okay. He thinks that there's muted vol until end of summer or
That would make
midsummer.
sense. Yeah, right.
But that wasn't the trade. That was not the trade. Maybe this is one leg that we're seeing. Of course, maybe he has some December stuff, but this is like a huge trade that crossed all the institutional platforms, well, of the two, right? Greeks Live and Paradigm for 72,000 contracts. It was like 20 million plus premium on Greeks Live, so 100 million on Paradigm.
I mean, this is just going into like the volatility conversation of, we have very low vol regime scenario, but we even talked about this on the last call, where just because it's relatively low doesn't mean it can't go lower. right? And I know one of the things I brought up on the last call was like obviously we know that vol has like a mean reverting tendency, and we're going to have little spikes here and there. But the general trend for volatility in crypto currently is down. And so that longer term trend, it doesn't seem as if there's any catalyst. And this is something else we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is about catalyst. What could be the catalyst that could create a vol event? And I don't remember any meaningful like catalyst that we brought up. I mean, there's some things like you mentioned, like outside of black swans or just these random unknowns that kind of come about. There isn't really anything there that we could speculate that's going to start generating volatility in the marketplace. So to me, I think this is you could bet on even further compression. And this is even funny, right? We talked about volatility, I think, on our first options talk. And
Yeah, 20
and
vol.
Vol was at the time, to give some people context, I think Vol was like at 70 or 80, and we were just like, wow, this is really low. We're used to 100 Vol. And then I asked Marty, I'm like, how would you feel if crypto became a 20 Vol asset? And I think it sounded a little crazy at the time. But we kind of seem to be going in that direction. I mean, I think
Yeah,
you had mentioned to me in a DM that like realized vol right now is at 35.
yeah.
So,
No,
uh,
for people that don't understand or that are just listening in, right? A 20 vol product is SPY, right? It's TradFi product. It's boring. It doesn't move. It's slow. It's lame. We trade shitcoins and crypto because it's 100 vol products plus, right? ETH hit 150 vol when FTX crashed, and it's been down ever since. But yeah, I mean, we're closer to 20 than 100. We're closer to 0 than 100. Of course, it's not going to go to 0, but yeah, we are trending in this super low. Yeah, I realize all 35%. I'll talk about this tomorrow and more about this in the newsletter for sure.
we might seem to have answered the question about that spread indirectly here by just having this conversation of uh, vol just constantly going lower, and there does not seem to be any scenario in which we could see a macro level event in crypto that's going to change that anytime soon.
Yeah. And Zoran, how are you playing this low volatility? I mean, I know you're not a vol. What I got called a voltard the other day, so I learned that's a new term for me, voltard. So I know you're not a voltard like us, but how are you playing this low volatility? I mean, of course,
You know
there's
how
still
I'm
money to
playing
be
it?
made.
There might be money to be made, but I'm playing it like I'm going to touch grass the entire summer. I sold in April. I sold 30K. I sold 1945. I'm still holding those swing shorts. I don't plan on touching them until Q4. For me, I'm a discretionary trader. I know my place in the market. When it's up only, I will be balls to the wall, sleeping at my desk again. But for right now, I'm very cozy in my swing shorts. Just literally not going to trade unless I see some very high EV scalps potentially. But other than that, I'm biding my time, enjoying my summer, touching grass, as the proverbial CT meme goes, and just kind of enjoying time until I believe, that next part of the cycle where it's easy mode up only. There's an influx of retail capital into the space. I'm basically chilling until I see signs that I need to be more active in the market because this is
Sure,
PvP,
sure,
and
right?
I
Yeah,
don't think I have yeah,
sitting on your
exactly.
hands is always a good strat, right? That is a play. But for our good friend Loris, Loris is coming in cozy. Loris is now building a market making bot to come compete in the low vol space now that he has learned the ways. But I fear once Loris's bot is finished, we'll be in a high vol regime,
Loris
and
from Subway.
maybe, yeah, yeah, and maybe he gets you know his ass handed to him a little bit because Vol comes back. He's trying to sell, and the time to sell was since November. Essentially, option sellers have been rejoicing. We've been eating like kings, and the Marty tours must go on.
How did this rivalry spark up?
How did the rivalry start? I don't know. I don't know Loris, and I don't think anybody knows who he is. But some people. Some people do. He's a market maker in Delta One products. Okay, no problem. Um, and I posted a. I don't want to throw too much heat, but I threw I've been selling a strangle for like 3 weeks now, right? Not even through the bot, just manually clicking, filling it on Greek Live, filling it on Paradigm. Just this, one trade out of many in the portfolio. Everything's all the Greeks. Are all tight. There's more Greeks than the people in Athens. They're all managed all the time by a bot. And he was like, "Oh, it's a copy pasta now, but oh, here we have like a unsophisticated user who doesn't know anything about option vol or whatever." And I just ripped him a new one, and it's just been going back and forth for like 2 or 3 weeks now. But I offered to buy him drinks and, let's hang out and all this. And now he's building an options bot. He's moving over from Delta One products to build an options bot. So let's welcome to the space.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll send you the first copy pasta. It was a good one. Because I was selling every day, because I said, oh, I always say some stupid shit. Oh, every day it's so easy. It's that easy pimps, right? Like that's the whole whatever, it's a character, right? That's what I always say. And I was selling the strangle every day for like a week or something. And that's what really pissed him off. He's like, you can't do this. You can't. Why not? It's making money. You're going to hate on a profitable strategy? Doesn't make any sense, guys. If we become a 20 vol product, that I'll get a cake with Loris's face on it. All right. Then I'll send it to Tolga and you, Cozy.
I thought you won't be trading crypto anymore if it's a 20
Yeah.
product.
No, if it hits 20, that's it. I'm leaving. Okay. I'll leave.
You promised that. You said I'm going to hold you to that from the first
I did say
conversation,
that. I did say if we go to a 20 vol product, I'll stop trading crypto. Yeah, for sure. This is going to be so sad and so lame if we go to 20 vol that I don't think you want to be in this space, right? You might as well go bank your money and go collect 4% or whatever you can get right now in treasuries. It's going to be boring.
I do want to say something though about when you do hit these very long, prolonged periods of low volatility, and this kind of structurally happened a lot in traditional finance too, especially in like VIX futures, where the market structurally gets lopsided and it gets very one-sided, all at the same time when liquidity in the marketplace is hitting all-time lows. And so when you do have that tail event that comes around, the entire market structure starts adding fuel to that fire versus actually being able to tame it, right? And so it's very possible that we could keep going down to 20 vol, but it also seems like we're setting up structurally for quite an extreme aggressive move, possibly upward, right? The tails can be in two directional, right? But there's scenarios in which are setting up that can have some violent upside movement for us at some point, whatever that catalyst could be. Just from a structural standpoint, we do seem to be setting up like that.
Yeah, I mean I think that's what Loris was mad about. He was like, "Oh, you can't just keep selling vol because one day you're picking up pennies in front of a steamroller." Argument. Yeah, sure, but I've been picking up pennies since November. What about you? I've been making data, get paid data every day, right? Every single day. Okay, okay. And of course, you need to balance everything all the time. Of course, the book has to be managed. Of course, you can't be caught off sides. Of course, you can't just be selling upside all the way or, under collateralized. I don't know, you have one Bitcoin, you can't sell, 100 or whatever it is, right? If you're over leveraged, you're going to be totally wrecked. Sell both sides, sell way out the money, keep stuff balanced, and there's money to be made in any sort of market conditions with options. Of course, when there's that flip, that boom, I don't know, Binance goes down tomorrow. Your bots better be pretty fast, or your whole book is going to be caught off sides. It'd be really hard in a black swan or in any sort of this major vol catalyst if you were just manually clicking, unless you were, 1-to-1, you sold one put for one coin, right? Okay, then no problem. We're sold one call and one coin, no problem. But, when you're managing the whole book, yeah, of course, if your bots aren't fast enough, you could get pretty wrecked, right? You'll get hit by the steamroller.
Zoran, this actually is a question that might kind of pertain to you as well, and just what we were talking about. Where do you see, or what do you look at for I call it volatility regime shifts, but there can be market regime shifts. So you mentioned like, you're just keeping it low key right now, not trading, and that when you see markets start moving or see activity pick up, you would start to get more active. What are the signs, or what specifically are you looking for where you would sort of identify these regime shifts in which, okay, it's different this time, right? Like it's time to get in.
Yeah, so I never think it's different. I actually think it's pretty predictable in the sense that I'm expecting like a time-based, not capitulation, but just time-based regime shift after, X amount of months go by where I guess I'm looking at social sentiment, I'm looking at price just being muted. I'm not looking at vol the way you guys are, but at the same token, gun to my head, my number one, I guess, indicator for identifying potential market regime shift is usually when markets go into backwardation on the futures. That has been my tried and true tested, I guess, number one heuristic for identifying, I guess, inflection points. So, I look at, for example, I'm pretty rudimentary. So I look at BitMEX, I look at the XBT USD per price and I compare it to the futures price. Right now, the per price is trading $80 below the June futures and about $180 below September futures. So for me, if I see, for example, let's just pretend we have a huge vol event, we make a lower low, we go down to like 25Ks, maybe 24Ks. If I see the futures in backwardation for a prolonged period of time, let's say it's like $300, $400, $500 below, whatever that comes out to annualize, I really just look at the dollar discrepancy. When I see that, that's usually the signal for me to kind of perk up, pay attention, and see what the structure looks like from a price perspective to see, are we going to create some sort of bottom and start a new trend, right? So for me, it's like I'm looking to get long in the near future, whether that's, end of fourth quarter, beginning of Q1 2023. And the way I'm kind of identifying that heuristic is when are the markets going to go into backwardation? Because generally speaking, Bitcoin and a lot of other cryptos are always in contango just because of the way the convexity works with crypto and on derivatives exchanges. So waiting to see that backwardation is kind of my number one heuristic for identifying a potential regime shift.
There's a classic tweet. I gotta find it. I don't know how to do a Twitter thing, but I'll find it. It's Suzu in like the Twitter thing where they make it high, capitalized and lowercase, and it's all backwardation is bearish. And that was years ago, but that was a perfect tweet for this. I agree with you there. I think we're looking at a few other things like is the full vol regime changed, like Toga had mentioned. But I guess every time it's in backwardation, I mean, you can always play that, right? You can always just buy the backwardation when you
It's
can play
nearly like a 90% hit
futures.
rate for me whenever I buy
Yeah, you can
backwardation on
just play
futures.
futures and not pay funding, right? Um, that was like one of the other classic trades, right? Was like the carry trade. Oh, borrow money, buy Bitcoin, sell the futures. It was like 20-30%, something crazy like this annualized for a few years. But yeah, the backwardation thing is interesting. We can go into that, I don't know, another time, or get me on and Tolga on and we can talk backwardation all day long. I think that futures are a pretty underrated product that most people don't use, right? They're like, oh, 100x leverage, we could just do this on this perp, and they don't understand paying funding or how that works even, when a futures contract may be even better for them just to make their directional bet with no funding.
Yeah, see, I kind of learned that the hard way. Being a BitMEX playground maxi for my whole, most of my trading career. I learned kind of the edges in the market before Alameda and everyone else kind of came in. And, the biggest meta was negative funding, backwardation, 2019, insta long. And, we went from 4K to 13K in a 3 month span. So that was kind of the quickest way for me to learn that edge that you see backwardation. I think we saw it also in November of 21 at like 13K before we went up to 60K. So it's like it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, I pay attention. It's the one edge I've had in this market from a macro standpoint that's helped me identify inflection points. And you talk about, futures being a better product. I also learned that the hard way. I didn't buy ETH futes because they didn't have them back in the day on BitMEX. It was BTC margins ETH perpetual product, and I bought it at like 134. I ended up holding it for 3.5 months. It was $1 million
Jeez.
trade. It went to 268, and it was great, $1 million, cool. But I paid about 270K in funding fees, so it ate into my like 25% of my profits for holding a 3-4 month long. So hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Had I been on Deribit long ETH would have been a much more profitable trade, but neither here nor there. That's kind of why I think futures are, like you said, an underrated product for users who want to take a directional bet and they plan on holding for a longer time period than just a couple of days, weeks.
Yeah, or you can get into even like basis trading, right? There's a whole Arthur Hayes. Oh, it's so
Yep,
funny. He's
yep.
wearing like these big ass headphones. So funny. I always post the photo, but it's like a course. I'll find the link and I'll post it again. It's a course that he does about specifically about BitMEX futures and ARB and not ARB and basis trading, which you can do hopefully with a bot. You're not manually executing this, but I guess if you had to, you could. Um, yeah, we got a couple more minutes before the boss gets mad at me, but do we have any questions? Any other questions that we didn't cover in the DK? Any other questions we didn't cover? Anybody want to come up and ask a question?
Yeah, we'll take questions if anyone wants to come up. If not, I can. We got a little Premia plug. We announced something this morning. I might as well re-announce it now.
Shill it.
So the V3 beta trading competition is going to start the week of June 12th, right? So for all the stuff that we've been working on for the last year, finally coming to fruition. Smart contracts are under audit. So while we're doing that, it's going to be a long process. We're doing a trading competition. We got like over 150K in prizes, cash prizes. We got Diablo video game PC keys. We got different subscriptions to different trading platforms. We got tons of merch. So not only is it max P&L wins some big prizes, but then also just interacting with the platform, providing liquidity, trading ranges. So that should be good to go about 2 weeks time. That's when we're planning on launching it. We got a ton in store on the marketing side of things. Zoran, I know that you and ISO have a course, if I remember correctly. If you want to throw that in the pot for a prize, happy to add it.
Yeah, let's throw 3 free tools to trade curriculums in there. Why not?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, so we'll throw that in. We got Amber Data subscriptions. We're doing Nansen. We're doing, like I said, a ton in cash prizes. So everyone,
You can just go
while
ahead and send those all to me, all right? It's okay, guys. I'll handle it from here. I'll win them all.
yep, that's all we had really mostly. And then our academy, we're going live on Friday. So we're gonna start rolling that out. Just the traditional courses. We got intro to options. We have Greeks. There's another one going live as well. Learn how just basic stuff going into the trading competition, and then when the trading competition begins, we'll have another course that kind of goes through all those V3 features in detail.
Nice. Zoran, you want to partner up and make a team, and we'll win this thing, or what?
Yeah. Am I trading options or am I trading perps? It's very different for me.
Oh, you're
I'll tell
trading
you the
options
trade.
now. You're coming to play options now.
I'll tell you the direction. You tell me how to craft the trade. I know fuck all. I'm
Exactly.
going to be honest. I'm so normie with
Exactly.
options. It's my one regret that I never kind of dabbled into it because when FTX debacle happened, I would have loved to pick up some cheap calls back in the day. But yeah, I have much to learn from you gentlemen in your options gigabrain selves.
It's a weird space, right? The vol space is so small, but everybody kind of knows each other, and we all compete against each other, and people are building cool things over there and building another cool thing over here, and either on exchange or on DeFi. And yeah, it's a very interesting space, especially when you get all the TradFi guys coming in to work at all the crypto funds and firms. It gets very, very interesting. Like this guy doing this huge trade. We're just sitting here like, why? Like, well, there has to be a reason, but right now it doesn't look like there's a reason. He has about 30 days to figure that one out. But yeah, it's good. Thank you guys for all coming on. Thank you, Tolga. Thank you, Zoran, of course, Cozy, DK. Oh, we have one question. Oh, nice. Our first question, I think. Oh, Adam.
And hey, thank you for taking my question. Sorry for it. First, just a quick one.
Is he at it?
Where can we line up for the
Yeah,
Marty
go ahead.
newsletter? Is there a place to sign up for that? I didn't see a link anywhere.
Sure. Yeah, it's on a Premia Finance blog, but we post it every day. I'll send you the link when it comes out,
Great,
okay?
thanks. And then just one more question on that big trade. I think over the past year, kind of the right trade has been the hard one, right? I think as vol goes lower and lower, it kind of still makes sense to sell vol, as you've been a big proponent of. I almost think that seeing this big play right here is kind of a contrarian, a counterintuitive contrarian trade. Like I think we've seen a lot of people sell the short-term vol to fund long-term or longer-dated Vega positions. I think this guy kind of taking the opposite side of that trade maybe was just to be contrarian and to not be in the crowded position. And I'm just curious about, does it make sense to kind of take the hard trade or take the easy trade in this kind of vol environment? And any insights you can derive from that?
Well, we've been taking the easy trade. It's the crowded trade, as Tony Stewart said. It's basically everybody selling short front end garbage to fund their long term Vega plays, right? Their upside plays. And if that works out, amazing. But if one day you have a black swan event and your book is totally off Kinder and you're selling, I don't know, right now you're going to roll this to June or, mid June today, if you haven't already, then you're going to be caught with your pants down. But you're not alone, right? All of the big funds are doing this exact trade. This is the only one guy that I've seen through Paradigm and Greeks Live taking this trade. I don't know if it's the right trade. I guess we're going to find out, right? Unless he knows something that we don't. But usually those kinds of insiders don't put on this big of size. This is the biggest ETH player that I've heard of from all of them, from Genesis, from Paradigm, and from Greeks Live. This is the biggest ETH player in the space. And he does have some more things into September, December, but this one is more notably sizable. And I know that doesn't necessarily answer your question specifically, but I don't think that it's the right trade, and only time will tell. Only time will tell.
Thank you, Ben.
You bring up the point of timing. I don't think timing is a component that people can answer correctly. Never, right? We can't tell when something is going to happen. But with some educated guess, we could determine risk profile changes, market structure changes, quantifying what does crowded trade mean to you, right? What is that from a quantitative perspective? In creating metrics to sort of identify these risks and then sort of just placing your orders in such a way that are in line with this new risk model that you've sort of designed and implemented in terms of market structure risk. And I think that part is a little bit easier to accomplish than it is just to time the market and say something's going to happen next week. I think that's probably one of the most difficult things to do in trading.
Yeah, well, we're about to find out, right? If he rolls this trade or what he does. I just got a ping that he did some September, December stuff. I don't know if I didn't look at the strikes or anything. I just got the ping, but it's going to be interesting for sure to follow this guy. This is like the biggest ETH player in the vol space today, right now.
Thank you for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. And I'll send you that link right now when I finish this up, okay?
All right, awesome. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you guys for coming on. Do you guys want to wrap it up?
Yep, let's wrap it up. We're about over. Appreciate everyone for joining. Zoran, for your time. We do this every 2 weeks. We'll see you again 2 Wednesdays from now.
I hear we have
Awesome.
a
Thanks
big
for having me,
guest.
guys.
I hear we have another big guest. We're in the heavy hitters. We got
Next.
Zoran today, and I hear we have Horseman Clark in 2 weeks.
For
So thank you guys. Peace out, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Take it easy.
Peace out.
boat rides with the girl, quote unquote, Marty.
A real girl. All right. Peace out. Later, pimps.